One day I'm going to do a proper documentary on the Packers-Cowboys playoff game and just how stunning it was to the NFL community as a whole. That being said, that video is not this one. What this video is doing, though, is explaining why I think the 48-32 score wasn't as misleading as it seems to be. Because yes, you do have to go with the aspect that it was 48-16 midway through the fourth quarter. And you do have to look at it from that perspective. You do. You have to look at it from the perspective of that it seemed like the game was over. However, you can't exactly think like that. You have to think as to how the Cowboys actually made a somewhat valiant effort to come back, and this video is going to sort of expose the idea that garbage time isn't exactly, what it seems to be. Because we can think of it as garbage time all we want, but it's only garbage time until it's not. Remember when we had the Browns-Jets games and Nick Chubb didn't go down? When the Browns were leading 24-17 and scored a touchdown, which put them up 30-17. But because the Jets could get the ball back, Flacco got a touchdown. But with being 30-24 and adjusting an onside kick, the game still seemed over. They then recovered the onside kick and they won 31-30 in that crazy game. So that Flacco touchdown that seemed like it was garbage time really wasn't garbage time because the Jets won. The Jets actually won. So it wasn't exactly garbage time. And you have to think about it from perspective. First of all, there were some things that happened during the game that I didn't exactly agree with, that I think could have prevented the situation. First of all, obviously Carlson missed an extra point that made the score 20-0 instead of 21-0. I think that was probably significant. Because if Carlson gets that extra point, then when the pick six happens, it's 28-0. It's 28-7 at the half now. Then it would become 28-10 with a field goal. Although at that point, McCarthy might have had no choice but to go for it on 4th and 10, but I'll just assume that he didn't. But then the Packers score, now it's 35-10, and then when the Cowboys score, they're not in this position where, even with it being 35-16, they're probably still going to go for the extra point because even if they wind up getting the 2-point conversion, it's still a 3-score game. It's not going to have to go for it to make it a 2-score game, where it obviously gets revoked and then a further extra point misses. So at that point, you're dealing with the score probably being 35-17. And then, of course, the Packers then just kept scoring. When the Packers scored their 7th touchdown to make it 47-17, they kicked an extra point to make it 48-17. I disagree with 48-16. I mean, when it was 47-16. I disagree with that call. Personally, if I was Matt LaFleur, I would have gone for the 2-point conversion in that spot to make it 49-16. Why would I have done that? Well, because if you make it 49-17, you make it a 5-possession game. Don't, and it's 4 possessions. That realistically means that if the Cowboys defense gets its shit together, which I know seemed laughable but was possible, if the Cowboys defense got their shit together, then and were able to recover an onside kick, they realistically only have to recover one onside kick. They could legitimately tie it up in the craziest comeback ever if your offense kept, getting 3 and outs. Make it, and 47-16 and 48-16 wasn't really that big of a difference. I'd take that spot, go for 2, try to put yourself up by 5 possessions. I will say that there was a comeback in the NFL where a team was down by 5 possessions and came back. Obviously, it was the 2022 Vikings. And they did have a 22-point deficit entering into the fourth quarter that they were able to overcome. And they didn't even play perfect football in the process. They did not play a perfect football. Kirk Cousins threw an interception during that time. They had penalties. They allowed a field goal when they were coming down from 5 possessions. They were down 33-0 at the half, and they still tied up at 36 at the end of regulation and won 39-36 in overtime. But you just got to think about it from that perspective. I mean, the Cowboys are a team that they're known for their fourth quarter domination. They scored 20. They shut out the Commanders 25-0 in the fourth quarter of the Thanksgiving game, and in 2022 against the Colts, they shut them out 33-0 in the fourth quarter to turn a close 21-19 ball game into a 54-19 massacre. But you have to think like that. You have to think that the Cowboys could all of a sudden just get a lot better in the fourth quarter and have a historical fourth quarter. Because even though, yes, it was 41-16 heading into the fourth quarter, that's a 25-point deficit. We have seen one 25-point comeback in the NFL. I forgot which game it was. Obviously, the Monday Night Miracle was a 23-point comeback in the fourth quarter. And, we've seen time and time again teams come back from being down 3 possessions in the fourth quarter. Hell, in Super Bowl 51, the Patriots were down 28-9 heading into the fourth, and they still won. But there's still, more to it than that. When you have these, crazy comebacks. So you just have to think about it from that perspective. Now, as for what happened, so the Cowboys were down 48-16, and the Packers scored with 10 minutes and 23 seconds left. Now, the Cowboys marched down the field really lazily. So even though they scored, there was 5 minutes and 54 seconds left on the clock at that point. They had to move with a lot more emphasis. They pretty much ate up nearly half of the remaining time. If they were serious about coming back, then at that point, you gotta just, especially against the backups, you have to really score down the field in like a minute. You have to really have this be like a 1 minute or 2 minute drill. Because the Packers realistically are going to call mostly running plays because they think that the game's over. They're going to call mostly runs. So, and obviously, yes, it's their backups. And then the Cowboys scored and made it 40-24. But then it began to get a little bit nervous because the Packers went 3 and out. And because they faced a 4th and 9 at the Dallas 49-yard line, you got to punt that ball off. And then the Cowboys had to march 91 yards. And they did rather quickly. They actually looked like a football team. And of course, they had a 2-point conversion too. It was 48-32. At that point, it's 2 possessions. And even with the ball, you still have to, put your starters back in. At that point, there was still over 3 minutes left for the Cowboys to potentially work their magic. So, Jordan Love also threw a pass that fell incomplete, which not only ruined his perfect passer rating, but also meant that at that point, the clock stopped. And it gave time back to the Cowboys, who then marched 65 yards down the field to the Green Bay 28. Now, there was a pass in the end zone that got broken up, and that sealed the game. But I was getting nervous that the Packers could have blown it. Because if that pass is completed, it's 48-38. What if the 2-point conversion succeeds? It's 48-40 in a 1-score game. At that point, 1 onside kick, and you're not in great condition, but you are realistically 1 Hail Mary away from getting it, and you have a couple chances to call an out route to get closer before you're forced to do that Hail Mary, which of course you'd still have to do a 2-point conversion afterwards to make it 48-48. and tie it back up. So while it's highly unlikely that the Cowboys could have done something, and again, there are a few things I disagree with LaFleur there. Like, for example, not going for 2 when you're up 31 points because you really want to make it a 33-point ball game and just put it completely out of reach. Also, when you had 4th and 7 at the Dallas 41-yard line, I personally think that they should have tried a 59-yard field goal, even though obviously if it misses, the Dallas is getting the ball practically at midfield. Oh, fuck, it's raining again. It is raining quite heavily, and I am not exactly the most prepared for it. Yeah, I heard there's going to be storms today. Should not have walked. But what you got to understand about the whole Packers-Cowboys game was that I'm an Eagles fan. Obviously, I loved seeing the Cowboys getting torched. I love seeing the Cowboys embarrassing themselves on national TV. So, as an Eagles fan, when I began to get nervous they blow it, like, that's why I'm saying 48-32 wasn't that deceiving. I actually got nervous. Like, pretty nervous that the Packers were going to blow it. They put their starters back in. The Cowboys are down 2 scores. If they had moved the ball, if they had moved faster down the field and didn't take so long, then I genuinely think that they could have possibly pulled this comeback together. The Packers just completely took their foot off the gas pedal. They did that a little bit too early, I think. Like, you know. And then you also have to think about it too. The Cowboys got 510 yards to the Packers 415. Now there's a few reasons why that's deceiving. First of all, 231 of those yards did come in garbage time, even though he said that it probably wasn't as garbage timey as it seemed. Second of all, the Packers got a pick 6, obviously. So if not for the pick 6, if the Cowboys continued to move the ball down the field and scored, at halftime it's 20-7. So then you got to think for the rest of the game, then it's 20-10, 27-10, then it's 27 to, that one was 27-17 because you're not going to go for a 2-point conversion to make it 27-18. And then the Packers will make it 34-17, 41-17, but then it's only a 3-possession game, if not for that pick 6. And then with 41-17, like, you got options. You genuinely have options. And at that point, it's a lot closer of a game. And obviously a pick 6, you're not going to get credited for any yards with the pick 6. Because your team wasn't the one that threw it. In a lot of cases, the Cowboys got close. It wasn't like a total blast out. It was just the fact that the Cowboys, for a while, couldn't do anything productive. Like when Dak took a sack in field goal range, instead of just trying to throw the ball away, that pushed them out of field goal range. Or obviously the pick 6. Which occurred, again, in field goal range. Like, the Cowboys almost could have made it a game. And this is why, what I was saying. The 48-32 score wasn't as deceiving as people like to say it was. At the end, the Cowboys finally got their shit together. The Packers took their foot off the gas pedal. They shouldn't have done that. We've seen crazy comebacks in the NFL. Miracle at the Meadowlands, when midway through the 4th quarter, the Giants were up 31-10 and they lost the game in regulation. They lost the game in regulation. So, that's how you gotta think about it.